Heather let me know she was up on an inspection in Healdsburg, and she's on her way back to the office, so she'll be a little late tuning in. Anyone got a paperwork contract, any kind of issue they want to discuss before we get into my topics today? Okay, everything's on an even keel in your world. That's good. Okay, so let me start with this circumstance here. Sometimes we get called into by a client that we worked with in the past, and they say, I was going to sell my house, and I was talking to my neighbor about it, and I was going to call you about getting it on the market, but my neighbor wants to buy it, and can you help? Or something along those lines. They've already got a buyer. The circumstance that came up this week, it actually is Heather's. It is a client of hers. This family had inherited property from parents, and they don't really want to deal with it. And they thought, and the neighbor approached them about buying it, and they said, yes, we just don't want to deal with this. And they were going to do all the paperwork themselves, and then they said, there's too much stuff here. Heather, can you help us? So we get those requests, probably a few times a year, maybe more than a few times. And what do? Because if we start handling the paperwork for a transaction, we're agents. We become agents, and we have to sign agency agreements with the parties, even though it's going to be playing a minor role. And we want to make it clear the other party, in this case the buyer, doesn't have an agent. So we want to make it clear that we aren't, even though we're sending them paperwork, like an offer for them to sign, that we aren't their agent. So how do we deal with that? So in a practical matter, there's these two forms here: buyer or tenant non-agency agreement, and then there's a similar one called the seller or landlord non-agency agreement. And it all depends on where we are, who we are representing. So it talks about the parties to and the property. So here we have a seller, a landlord, and we have a property. And our agent is a seller or landlord's broker is listed. That's our agent. And then it goes and says no representation of buyer, tenant, or seller's landlord brokers. Buyer, tenant understands and agrees with the following: seller, landlord's broker does not represent the buyer, tenant, and seller, landlord will not be the buyer, tenant's agent during any negotiation or transaction that results between the buyer and the tenant and the seller or the landlord. And then it repeats it again, that we do not represent the buyer tenant, even though the seller landlord's broker may provide buyer tenant with forms describing agency relationships as required by law or otherwise. And then there's this chance to check this box if the buyer tenant is represented by another broker, or the buyer and tenant is not at this time represented by a broker, but they have the right to enter into an agreement with another broker if they want to. We will act. This says we will act as the agent of the seller landlord exclusively, and that the buyer tenant is advised to seek real estate, legal, tax, insurance, title, and other desired assistance from appropriate professionals. So that's the form we use in a case like that. Any questions on that? Now, it also comes up, like, well, here the seller has called us, they have a buyer, all they wanted us to do is handle paperwork. Okay, so what do we charge to handle paperwork? Well, we don't have a set fee to handle paperwork. I usually try to point out to the agent that, hey, we're liable the same way we would be if we took that property and put it on the market and exposed it to the market and got a buyer and represented by another party. And, we have all the same obligations to the client, the seller, that we have in a regular listing agreement. All we haven't done is identify the buyer. So, yeah, we can do this for a reduced fee, but not an enormously reduced fee because we still have liability down the road. And it's still going to take your time and attention and care, your professional skill to nurse a thing through to closing. So there's no set fee for that, the paperwork says all fees are negotiable. I've seen it done for somewhere between 1% and 3% to represent one side of a transaction. I've even seen it done for a fixed dollar amount. So what you have to do as an agent when you're in that situation is, well, Bernadette, hello there. You have to determine what you think is fair for your time and energy and skill in the matter, and then discuss it with Randy or I before we, kind of approve it and move forward. Okay, so that's what you do if that situation comes up. It typically comes when somebody says, can you just handle the paperwork? And that's a qualified yes, a very qualified yes. Well, yes, we can do paperwork, but we have these liabilities, these agency responsibilities that don't go away just because you say we're handling paperwork. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. The next thing, we had two questions come up around referrals, and I really like referrals. I like the idea that we'll receive a fee and not be the agents, and not have the liability of being in the transaction. So if we send a referral out and get 25% of the commission, we don't have any legal commitments in that, So it's good business. It's part of why we have the spread out group we have, is that we can refer business back and forth between our offices. If Eric has to buyer wants to go, he's working with one of our agents up there and taking round referrals this week. Heather's asking if my screen is frozen to any of the rest of you.
Yes, it was frozen for me.
Yeah, and
Now it's better,
it's
right?
better now.
Back
Okay,
on track.
all right. That might be my my Wi-Fi. So sorry. If it happens again, just give me a shout and I will move to another location. But anyway, referrals. So there's a referral form that we use when you have a referral. You should become familiar with it. And it's It's in zip forms. It's a CAR form. And it's called the referral fee agreement. It's easy enough. Who's the referring broker? Well, if I'm referring out a buyer or a seller to another party, we're the referring broker. The recipient broker is in this case, we were referring a client down to Marietta, Georgia. We found a Better Homes and Gardens. They have a very big office in Atlanta, covers that area. So we found an agent, Jamie Hook, and then there was the principal, and it was a 25% referral fee if they entered into a contract to sell this property. And that's pretty much it. The brokers sign this. You as an agent don't sign it, and then we send it on. I send it on after it's signed to Ashley, who holds on to these things. And so when fees come in that we aren't expecting, we get a check from a title company and we don't have an escrow attached to it, we pull out the old referral documents and say, oh yeah, this is a referral on this property, because we can identify it then. Anyway, the two things. So, sorry.
I'm sorry. Is Parmita the person we go to find an agent to refer to?
You can work with Parmita. Parmita kind of heads up our leads and referral group. Or you can do that homework yourself and search it out.
Okay.
I went directly to the broker in Atlanta because I knew him, and he put me in touch with the reload people, and we found an agent that way. So,
okay, thank you.
yeah. If you go on Better Homes and Gardens website, we can certainly find all the offices that way,
Okay.
where they're located. Yeah. Anyway, one came in, and our client, our agent, she's a licensed agent, was going to buy an investment property in another area and wanted to refer herself as a client to an agent in that area where she wanted to locate and buy a property. So the question was, well, can she take a referral fee on that basis? And the answer is yes. She can refer herself to herself, and get a referral fee for being that client. So I know Shannon's looking out of the area for investment properties. If you refer that to an agent in another area because you don't want to go explore properties in say Boise, Idaho, wherever you're looking, then refer it out and you can get a referral fee. That's all well and good and acceptable.
Okay.
You use the same form.
Great. Thank you, Gary.
Sure. And then the other referral question that came up this week was a owner interviewed our agent. Our agent was referred to an owner. The client interviewed them and wanted to hire them. They had bought the property from another agent about 2 years ago, who was a longtime friend. She didn't want to hire this longtime friend who represented her in the purchase of the property to sell the property because she was unhappy with how that transaction went. Now, of course, she wasn't didn't have the courage to call that person and say, I'm not going to hire you to do this. She just kind of decided to hire other agent, or interview and hire another agent, which was us. So at some point, she described the situation to our agent and said, I would really appreciate it if you would offer Sally, the prior agent, and my prior agent, my friend, just some kind of fee, just out of goodwill, so she's not totally mad at me for not hiring her. Yeah, okay. So it's not that that agent referred us this business. It's a request from the seller that we consider paying that person something. So we discussed it and thought about it, and it's about a $25,000 gross commission, and we decided $2,500 was more than fair, 10%. And we decided that was a fair number, and I called their broker over there and explained the situation. And that we were willing to pay that agent $2,500 just because the sellers asked us to. Okay, so those things happen. Now, the agent the broker calls the agent, says, this is what's happened. Your prior client decided not to work with you and wants to hire another firm and another agent. And but they will pay you $2,500 because the seller wants to take you taken care of to some degree. Well, instead of saying, well, thank you, I appreciate that, and wishing the seller luck, what do you think that agent did?
Call the seller.
Called the seller and just, whined and complained, and you made her feel guilty, and the seller's dealing with a sick husband, and all this stuff, and and it's just not the way, it wasn't good form, So I had to call the broker back. By this time we have a signed listing. The first time we had a signed listing, I called the broker back and said, okay, now I know they're friends and they can talk whatever they want to with his friends, but this is talking about our listing and compensation that parties will earn related to our listing, and your agent cannot be talking to our seller. That's just not allowed. So and that's a code of ethics thing. You don't talk to other agents' principals. Now, sometimes let me finish that story and I'll just circle back with one tag on that. So the broker is going to call the agent, say, don't call that client anymore. She's not your client anymore. So don't call her and about this property, and let it be. She said she is willing to accept $2,500, though she thought she should have gotten 25%, which would be a customary referral fee. But it's again, referral fees are negotiable. This was not a referral fee; it's just an accommodation to the seller. So it looks like it'll get squared away. But if something like that happens, we all have those disappointments. Handle it professionally. We don't go up in the our prior client's face and ask them what they're doing and why they did this. That's their business. So we just wish them well and move forward with our own lives. So hopefully that's how we would handle it in our group anyway.
And don't burn bridges, because you never know what's going to happen, right? It's like,
exactly.
If that doesn't work out, they might come back.
Seen it happen many times. Agents will leave our firm because the grass is greener at that other broker, and then in another year and a half, they come back and say the grass wasn't so green there. So you don't burn bridges in any of your relationships. It just doesn't really serve any purpose. The other thing I was going to say about referral. Sometimes a property be listed with another agent in another company, and that seller is not happy with how things are going. And they call one of you, they call one of our agents, or they run into you and start asking you questions about, I'm not sure that, how this is being handled right. Could you come look at my property? Okay, so if the principal comes to you, reaches out to you and asks you for help, you are permitted under the code of ethics to go and talk and help that person, realizing that it's a listing of the other agent. We can never say anything disparaging about the other agent or the other broker than saying like, oh, they aren't handling this right at all. You need to fire them. No, that wouldn't be appropriate. But we could, if they ask us for our opinion of value at that point, we can give that. If they ask us for a marketing plan, what would you do to market the plan? You can give them our marketing plan. But again, we can't talk badly about what the other broker or agent are doing. Okay, so there's a difference there. We can't reach out to them directly because we like that property and would like to list it. But if they reach out to us, then we have the permission to talk to them under our code of ethics. Okay, is that clear? Okay. And the last one I want to deal with, I put it last because no one likes to deal with this, but it's a cancellation of a transaction. And sometimes we get into transactions and then they cancel. And of course, there's a form for that. It's called the cancellation of contract, release of deposit, and cancellation of escrow. So there's three things going on here. We're canceling the contract, we're dealing with the release of the deposit, and we're canceling the escrow. Three separate things. So one is cancellation of the contract. Two is it. And you can see there's a whole lot of options here about check boxes and things to fill in about where this deposit is going to go. And then the cancellation of escrow gets canceled in. I don't know where the cancellation of escrow language is, but okay, here's it's up here. The release and deposit and cancellation of escrow are together here. So this paragraph is used to cancel the escrow. So there's the three things. What we have in our current situation is we're representing buyer. Buyer went to escrow to buy a property, had some reports done, didn't like the reports, and decided to cancel. All within the rights under paragraph 14B or C or whatever it is. And under the buyer's rights of termination. So they, within the timeframes and prior to removing their contingency, they, say, no, I don't want to buy the property. These reports are too bad. I don't even want to negotiate on them. I just want to cancel. Okay. So our agent prepares that form. And there's an escrow had been opened with $1,000 deposit. So there's a whole $1,000 sitting there in the escrow. And the form says that the money is going to be released back to the buyer, which is what the contract says. And the seller says, no, I'm going to keep the deposit. And, I call the broker up there and say, hey, can we understand your seller wants to keep the deposit? Have you tried to explain to them that it should be released? And he says, yes, she's very stubborn and we can't get it through to her. And I don't know what we're going to do. Now, some time ago, probably a couple years ago, CAR had put in the RPA a mechanism by which if the parties didn't agree on how the deposit should be released, that one party could appeal to the title company to send the other party a letter saying, party A has asked for the deposit. Party B, we're asking you whether you want to release the deposit or hold the deposit. And if you don't respond to this within 10 days, then we're going to release the deposit according to the request of party A. Well, that nice clause that the CAR folks wrote in, the title companies the escrow companies never accepted it. They said, no, we aren't going to do that. We don't like that. You can have it in your contract, but the escrow is something else between us and the parties, and we need a full cancellation and a release. So then in the last release of the RPA, they took that out. So there's no mechanism really to get to the deposit short of a judicial decree, judgment from a court or a small claims court or something like that, or an order or the release. Those are the two things you need. Now, The contract does provide, and the civil code provides that there's $1,000 penalty, up to $1,000 penalty to a party that holds on to funds in escrow without a good reason.
Is that in the contract, Gary?
Yes, right
That they
there.
can hold the $1,000?
Yeah, they're liable for $1,000. No, what's in the contract, I'll go to the RPA.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was in there. That was a new one on me.
No, it's been there a while, this $1,000, because it's statutory. There's a civil code. And probably CAR went and got the civil code passed. You know, they're always doing stuff to help in these situations. So it's down here in deposits. Yeah, it's 14H. I think it is. Sorry. Okay. 14H. And this is in the RPA, effective cancellation on deposits. Okay, so it says that the buyer, seller gives written notice of cancellation pursuant to rights duly exercised under the terms of the agreement. The parties agree to sign and deliver mutual escrow instructions. So it says, you know, they're going to agree to do this.
Mhm.
Then here in the dark language, it says a party may be subject to a civil penalty of up to $1,000 for refusal to sign the cancellation instructions if no good faith dispute exists as to which party is entitled to the deposited funds. And then it cites the civil code.
Okay.
And then it says you should go talk to an attorney, you know.
Well, that's it, which is going to cost you more than $1,000.
True. So what our counsel said is, with the client, the buyer's permission, our agent could craft a letter that says to the other agent, to the other broker, saying, please advise your client that we're still waiting for the cancellation forms. If they aren't provided to us within 10 days, our client intends to go to small claims court to get an order, a court order, and be aware that the under paragraph 14H of the contract, your client may be subject to $1,000 fine if our client is successful in small claims court, and see if that'll bump them along, get them along to do the thing. So that's where we are with that particular cancellation. I hope you never get into the same place. Of course, you have to have a transaction to have it canceled, so it's good to have a transaction.
I agree.
Okay, we all experience a little bit of everything at some point. Okay, that's all I have for today. Anything else anyone want to bring up? Okay, Heather, I will turn it over to you. Let you carry forth. Okay, let me make you a co-host. I made you co-host. Okay, you're ready to roll.
There's my mute button. All right. Good morning, everybody. I found a cool new thing that I wanted to share with you guys today. Let me get this up. You know, CAR provides, can you guys all hear me okay? I'm at the office, so I just want to make sure. Okay, great. CAR provides a lot of great resources for us, and what they have done, I don't know if you guys have found, sometimes the main CAR website, for other things than just getting to zip forms and classes, can be a little, I would say, not very intuitive. And so they have set up another site just for all the resources that they offer. And you can access classes that way as well. And I want to show you guys that because it's a really nice, easy place to get around. And there's some great resources in there. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, here is the main CAR website that we all go to a million times. Now, they don't currently have a button yet for this new site that they've created, but I'm sure it's going to be coming, and I'll show you guys once it does. But at the very bottom over here on the right, there's a lot of their, all along the right is all the news about what's happening in with CAR and lots of different things. And you'll see on the bottom right now, it says CAR launches new resource website. So you can go through that, or you can just simply, let me pop in here. You can just simply, well, actually, I'll just take you through that. So you can go to read more today, and then it has this, doesn't it have a link to it? Check out the new site right here. It's a simple website though. It's just called smartzonecar.org. So you can just bookmark that and not have to go through the main CAR website, but that's one way you can get to it right now. Like I said, I'm sure they're going to be adding a main button on the main page there or something to get over to this. When you come to the home page on this, there is just a quick market analysis typically. And this is a really great kind of snapshot about what's happening. And I think I want to say they update this every week. So it is really, you know, up to the minute information. You know, there's kind of a general summary, talks about consumer confidence, what's happening, information about mortgages, and then in construction and hiring, you know, job market. So it kind of gives a really good overview of what's happening and all the things in our economy that are affecting real estate. So it's great talking points with your clients. It's always has a nice infographic over on the left, which you can download and either email out to people, put it on social media or what have you. So it's a great way to connect with people. When you go to the homepage, you'll see that there is some member benefits here. That market analysis you can access through here, and then shareable content. And then down below is a little bite of the featured content. So let's just take a peek at what there is. So in Realtor Value, there's marketing tools. Those are going to be some different items that are kind of interesting. This one right here, this little Who's Your Realtor. If you scan this QR code, it gives you access to that Who's Your Realtor, just the words, not the picture in the back. And then you can superimpose that on anything, any photos, you know, anything that you're going to put out in your marketing. So that's kind of a fun little thing you can add to like your social media or what have you. And then in here, there are videos that you can actually customize some information on there, and you can share with people as well, email, video, social media, what have you. And then there's, I haven't tried this one yet, a virtual photo op. So it's kind of a fun, you know, again, social media things. And then this Realtor Real Talk is giving you more assets you can share, and it has, you know, tips and tricks kind of thing that you can share with people. So lots of different marketing tools there for you. Business tools, this gives you access to some of the resources like Symbian we went over last week, some of the things that are available to you through CAR or CAR, we're not supposed to say CAR. And now this part is really interesting. It's 184 things that you do as a real estate agent. So if you are trying to talk to someone about your value proposition, and they're like, well, you know, okay, what are you going to do for me in my listing or during, you know, whatever part of the transaction or helping your clients, you can go in here and either you could use these to make a checklist of all the things you need to remember, or use that for your value proposition, right? So here's marketing the listing. You click on it and it lists 84 through 111 things that agents generally do during the marketing phase, right? So you could use this in your marketing or just find all these points and discuss them when you're with your clients, when you're sitting down and in your listing appointment or somewhere along the way. So it has this for each, oops, there we go, for each of the pieces, the offer and contract, right? Obtain the pre-qualification letter. So it's a really nice resource. I love it. I was like, we do 184 things. That's pretty amazing. And it's all listed out right here. There's also infographics here that you can access. quick and easy. Again, email, social media, they're already set up. You can send them out. You can load more. There's a fair number of different ones depending on, I like these, you know, if I get a, you know, somebody calls me or I get some lead somewhere along the way and I'm like, I just want to get something out really quickly to them to make sure that they're getting valuable information from me to, in order to, you know, start solidifying that relationship with them. I'll just pop in and grab one of these, or actually what I do is I download them so I have them already on my computer, and then I can quickly and easily email them out to them. You can even, you know, save them on your phone and then text them to people. So if you're like, oh, you're thinking about buying, you can text that to them so they have something right there and you get their phone number so you can do that. So it's a great way to kind of solidify that relationship. There are some scripts in here as well. So if you just are like wanting to practice, you know, talking to a for sale by owner or prospecting or door knocking, there's scripts in here. I think they're all from Tom Ferry. Yeah, they're all from Tom Ferry. So there's some good scripts. You know, I think a lot of people are resistant to scripts. I certainly was. But what I found is when I practice a script, then I'm able to use the information and kind of the emphasis of what's being said, and then I change it over just naturally. I start changing it over into my own words, so it doesn't sound like a script, right? It sounds like something I need to tell the client. So so those are pretty handy. There's also over in the resource hub here on the top right, there's some tips for new agents. This is more of those member benefits. I think this is the exact same list. Oh, okay, actually there's a few other things. So this is a quick way to look up your legal hotline. You can access the free 45 continuing ed. You can get into the zip forms here, and then here's that virtual photo thing that I haven't tried out yet. But the smart tips for new agents has some really good stuff in here. If you are brand new and you're like, oh, I've never done floor time, or you know, I don't even know where to start reaching out to my sphere of influence, they have some really good resources here for you. And then that's more of the same of those. And then over in newsroom, you can access in the news is just all different articles about what, same thing that you saw on the main CAR page, but it's really good articles about what's happening currently with CAR real estate in California. So, you know, what's happening to housing affordability, you know, that wonderful dream for all that it's already paused, all those sort of things. So it's great to stay up on that. You know, I always had a subscription to Inman, but I found that they've got a lot of great info in here, and I'm not sure I'm going to re-up my Inman news just because I can come here for free and get the information I'm needing. Quick market analysis, that's what that first page was. If you're not finding it, they have a housing market podcast where they're talking about real estate. Again, that's a great thing to listen to in your car or somewhere where you're, you know, Tony Robbins calls it net time, no extra time, right? We're all so busy, but there's times where you're doing something else and you can be listening and learning, which is a great opportunity. And then there's also this newsletter, and it is, again, it's more articles in newsletter form that you can look at for keeping up to date.
Question, Heather.
Yeah.
Can you put the newsletter, is it more for like a, for Sphere and a newsletter you could put on your website, or is it more for an agent just to read
That's a
through?
great idea. I have not used these. I just found out about this not long ago, so I haven't used all this stuff. Let's see.
Okay.
So I just opened one, share post.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so these newsletters you can share.
Okay.
Yep.
Looks like good
So,
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
like we don't have time to do it all, but there's stuff here so that you can easily pop it into what you need. So yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And remember, it's just smartzonecar.org. I don't know if you guys can see it along the top there. smartzonecar.org for all these great resources. Any other questions? Oh, all right. Maybe Gary has stepped away. Well, I think that was everything I wanted to cover today. Take some time and explore this smartzone.org. I think it's got some really good opportunities. You know, we get so much of this that it gets overwhelming. And I think it's nice to, you know, narrow down, right? Okay, here's where I go to resources. And this does have quite a lot. So maybe it's, you know, can be your go-to place. All right. Well, Gary, I think maybe he stepped away. Usually he'd be talking by now.
Well, thank you so much, Heather.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
bet.
Thank you,
You bet.
Heather.
Anybody? Yeah, of course. Anybody have any other questions they want to throw out?
Mm-mm.
Nope. All right. Well, you guys all have a great week. I'm all done. Gary, you have any last things?
Nope, nope. Everybody have a great weekend.
Thanks. Bye,
Likewise,
everybody.
take care.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Bye.